Nice. How's it going?
Good to see everyone. Doing well. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, thanks. Good to see you too.
Who else is here? Afo, hi.
Yo, what's up?
It's going.
Hey, everybody.
Was that just now? Was that Matt?
This is Matt. Yeah.
Matt?
Can you hear me all right?
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some last minute setups on the slide, so just bear with us and we'll get started. Give some time for people to shuffle in. Hey Paul, could you help with the cover image? Or did we update? It looks like we updated. Nice.
I added a new one for that.
And you guys able to let people on the call, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm adding the invites.
GM, everybody.
James, yeah.
I just unmuted my computer, so if somebody was saying hello to me and I ignored you, that's the excuse.
How's New York, Matt?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Getting nice and warm out here.
Nice, is it? Is it springtime?
Yeah. I mean, once you come out of the winter, it's like, once it's no longer the winter, it feels like the spring. I don't care when the season actually starts. I'm calling it.
Well, I was just talking to my parents yesterday in upstate New York, and they were talking about snow in the forecast. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, they might as well be in Canada compared to down by me.
Luis, how's it going?
Pretty good. Hello, Paul. Hello, everyone. I was just in the meeting coordination call now, so a bit late. Sorry for that.
No worries.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Jam.
All right, we'll get it started in a couple. I'll give it couple more minutes, and then we'll get started.
Hey, Matt, there's a Deep Tech Week at New Lab in Brooklyn. I was just in New York attending it, but there's a after party tonight, I believe, if you want the link.
Nice. Yeah, sorry we couldn't grab coffee too. I'm kind of scrambling like a madman over here with my wife and I to put an offer in on a house. So we're, in mayhem, but I appreciate you thinking about me.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm not there anymore. I'll send you the Luma link if you want to check it out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I could share it with some other people too.
All right, cool. Let me share my screen and we're going to kick this show off.
GM, guys.
Yeah, what's up, Lisa? How you doing?
Great.
Nice.
Hey, everyone. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, what's up, Alan?
Yeah, just threw the link in the chat. It's also at New Lab at like 3:03 in the Navy Yard. So there's probably stuff going on all day today if you want to stop by.
It looks like we still got people flooding into the call, but we'll go ahead and get started. And the first part will be mainly just the intro, so let's have some time for people to join. Today's Friday, right? Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for joining the Gardens Gitcoin Grant Round Workshop. This will be the first of what will be at least a couple workshops where we'll be diving into how to join Gardens and participate in this Gardens round. And yeah, we have Paul, myself, and Koi. We're going to go over the different aspects of the round. So yeah, let's get started. So that's a quick walkthrough of what we're going to discuss in this call. Paul will present the garden, both walking through the setup of the community and how, if you're looking to create your own community, how you could do that. And then Kawe will showcase the different pools we've created for the round, from the regen community pools that are signaling pools to the Ethereum OSS pools, as well as some of the matching pools we have for Allo builders. And then next steps we'll highlight some action items and the next workshop for Allo integrations. Cool. So I'll pass it over to Paul to get started, and kind of just give a overview of Gardens, and then share a screen and walk through the Gitcoin Garden.
Thanks, Afo. Yeah, so this is the second community round that we've run with Gardens. If anyone participated in the last community round, we were using Gitcoin's quadratic funding and funding the council safes of Gardens communities through that. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the changes that Gitcoin made for this round. But Gitcoin has gone multi-mechanism. It's not just focusing on quadratic funding anymore. It's looking at all of the different types of mechanisms and finding ways to plug and play different mechanisms to use them all for the best of their own abilities. And so the early conversations that we had with the Gitcoin team about this were really exciting for us at Gardens, because we have this really innovative, interesting funding model that hasn't quite yet been used to the fullest of its ability. And Gitcoin was basically telling us with this community round, create the round that best uses your mechanism. And what the Gardens mechanism is conviction voting, which emphasizes continuous signaling and bottom-up governance. And the kind of unlock that we've done with our V2 of Gardens, which came out in fall of last year, is that you can modularly set up conviction voting for any instance, for any application, for any decision that your community is going to make, whether it's with capital allocation or with signaling or any other type of decision that you might make. Afa, you can probably go to the next slide, I think. Yes, so we set out with Gardens using the Allo protocol to create this modular setup where a community can plug and play any mechanism, and by doing that modularly, be able to make many different granular types of decisions, but have those decisions be made by the community members that are best capable of understanding those issues and addressing the problems that they're solving. And as you kind of so talking about this high level is challenging because you use a lot of jargon and words like coordination and governance, bottom up. But when you look at the specific decisions that people are making, they are so different from each community. Everyone that's in Web3, everyone that has a Gardens community is doing something so different from each other that it's really hard to not wind up kind of using these vague, broad, jargony words, because when you're talking about someone that's building an open source software that's doing capital allocation, the types of decisions they're making are what tech products do we need to be using, like what developer environments, what subgraph hosting platforms are we going to use. And that's completely different than someone that's running their town's library and they're making decisions about which books should we stock within our library and how do we deal with late fees and like all of the challenges specific to a library. And what Gardens is enabling is, regardless of what your organization does, the people who are responsible for solving the problems are the people who are directly connected to that problem and intuitively understand from their own experience and their own expertise the best way to solve that problem in that organization. And that's something that's been a real challenge in Web3 because you have a lot of top-down structures. And when there's a top-down governance system, people are making decisions on behalf of people below them that don't understand the nature of the problems that are being solved. And there's a lot of solutions, kind of stopgap or like halfway solutions for that, like milestone tracking and goal setting. And you can have a top-down governance that's looking at whether people are meeting the goals that they've set for themselves. But at the end of the day, you're in that situation having people who are not understanding the problem at hand, oftentimes determining whether or not an organization is successfully doing the thing that it's supposed to be doing, which is a really hard challenge. So often you can go on to the next slide, I think.
Well, if you're ready to demo, you can share your screen.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to add on that? So yeah, I think that the one other thing to add is bottom-up governance is a huge unlock, but also it introduces a host of new challenges, and a lot of those challenges are related to security and when you're giving the keys to the community treasury to the community, then you need to have safeguards to make sure that's not being abused and you don't have malicious people within your community taking advantage of their own empowerment to do harm to the community. So that is kind of a pre-warning for some of the UX challenges of using Gardens, but I think just understand that there's some kind of necessary challenges to make this work. And this is an experiment. This is our first major Gitcoin community round. And so we're always looking for feedback, and we're looking to make that experience better for communities. So with that said, we can go to...
I guess you could highlight the pools and then you could share your screen. If that works. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So quickly going through the pools, we have there's two main funding events in our round. There's matching funds, and that is $13,000 that's going directly into funding pools that you create for your own garden community. And so the way to be eligible for this funding is to create a gardens community, create a funding pool that's targeted towards whatever aspect of your organization needs funding, and whatever is going to help you grow. And once you set up that funding pool within your community, you register it in the Gitcoin Grants Garden, which is itself a community in gardens. And you'll create a proposal with the pool. And if it meets eligibility, then funding that you add to your funding pool will be matched between now and May 7th. For anyone who's used to the Gitcoin matching, usually the way that works is you donate to the project, and then that donation is matched quadratically. So this is completely different from that. You have a funding pool. People can donate to your funding pool, or you can use your own organization's funds to fund your own funding pool. And our community round is matching those funds that you add to your own pool through that matching fund. That's like the main event, and that's how 13,000 of our matching funding is going out. We also have the Allo Builders Fund, and that's for builders of capital allocation mechanisms. That's inspired by the Allo Capital ecosystem. This is a spinoff from Gitcoin. Gitcoin created Grant Stack, which then spun off into Allo Protocol, which is a smart contract framework for capital allocation mechanisms. And that has kind of ballooned into a fund, Allo Capital, which is supporting builders of capital allocation mechanisms of all kinds. And so we have funding available for people who are building any kind of tooling that's going to help in that ecosystem. Cowie, I see you have a hand up. You want to pitch in?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. There is something about the pool funding that they need to create, right? The projects need to create the funding pool, but they already need to fund, or they need to first make the proposal.
Yeah, so first you'll make your funding pool, and to make the funding pool, you need to have a community on Gardens. So the steps, and we'll walk through this together later in the call, but steps are to create your community, create a funding pool within your community, and then register that funding pool in the Gitcoin Grant Garden.
So the funds need to be sent after the register, right?
Any funding sent between April 2nd and May 7th are eligible.
Oh, okay.
So as of now, there's no registrations yet because we haven't had this call. But theoretically, if someone had a funding pool up already and it was getting matching funds, then that would qualify for the matching. And then I saw, Onifant, your question, is it okay not to have huge funding? We're planning to have 100 GTC in our first pool. The matching has a minimum, so your funding pool needs to have $500 at least to be eligible for matching. And that's to make sure that this funding pool can be impactful for a community. Very small funding pools, it's hard to create a lot of impact. So you do need at least 500 to be eligible for the matching funding. But like I mentioned, that doesn't need to come from donors, that can come from your organization as well. And then there's also a cap. So 500 is the minimum. And then within a community, you can contribute up to $3,000 and be eligible for matching. You can add more than that, but only the $3,000 will be factored into your matching distribution. And that is split across any number of funding pools that you create for your community. So you're not limited to just one funding pool. If you have 2 or 3 different areas that you want to fund, then you can create multiple pools for that. You can seed them with $500 at least each, and you'll get up to matching for up to $3,000 that gets contributed to all of those. So we can. So there's probably going to be a lot of questions on the matching funding pool. That's kind of our main event. But just to kind of round out the other ways that you can participate, we also have signaling pools in Gardens, and these do not have any funding attached. These are just purely for governance. And these are for things like identifying pain points in the Ethereum ecosystem, Regen All-Stars, that's kind of a fun one where you can nominate yourself or other people that you consider to be regens in the Web3 ecosystem. And then we also have a similar one for communities, so nominating projects and communities that you consider regen. And the purpose of these is one of the things that we are building with Gardens is a tool for collective intelligence. And a lot of Web3 governance is kind of inevitably devolves into marketing blitzes, and they are visibility promotion devices that are good for getting a lot of people to know about your project. But they wind up not being good sources of collective wisdom. And some of the strengths of using conviction voting and bottom-up governance and this kind of time-weighted signaling is that you can have votes that are better able to harness the collective wisdom of people. And so our hypothesis is that with these signaling pools, we'll have lists that are very representative of these kind of issues. So especially for the pain points in the Ethereum ecosystem, if we can curate a list of the #1 priorities for what is holding Ethereum back from creating value to the world, then that is a really valuable resource for grant programs and investors and people within Web3 to coordinate their work around making sure that they're solving those pain points. So there's no funding attached with these, but our theory is that these will source collective wisdom good enough that we can attach funding to them in the future. But for now, you can go into these pools. You can vote on the proposals that you feel are most representative of that prompt. And then you can also add proposals yourself as well. And then the final pool is the council safe election. Our community is moderated by a multi-sig, which we call the council safe. And anyone can create a proposal to join the council safe. And there's threshold metrics for what gets you to join the council safe based on that pool. And so right now we have a 3 of 6 council safe based on the 6 proposals that have at least 1% of conviction in that pool. So that's how we've democratized the management of this community also, which we're hoping can make the Gitcoin Grant Garden be something that lasts for a really long time because of that. Afo, what's the next slide? Or
for you to share your screen.
and I see Anafont. There might be a governance apathy problem later, but you can create votings to understand the views of active community members. So governance apathy is something that we put a lot of thought into the design of Gardens. And so just by being a member of the Gitcoin Grants Garden, you're not automatically considered as voting weight within all of the governance pools within Gardens. So you're only counted, your voting weight only has an influence on decision making if you activate your governance within pools. And so that kind of reduces the number of people participating in governance to just the people who've said that they're interested in joining that. And then also related to that, you can deactivate your governance in a pool if you're not interested in helping make that decision anymore. So yeah, let me share my screen. So here's the homepage of the Gardens app. On the homepage, you can see all the communities. You can sort by the governance token of the community to find your community or the network of the community. So here's the Gitcoin Grants Garden. You can see the membership here, the number of governance pools, the staked tokens. Anyone can join the Gitcoin Grants Garden. To join, you stake 1 GTC, and then you'll also sign the covenant. And the covenant is the social contract that everyone agrees to when they join the community. This is taken from Gitcoin's form. There's Gitcoin's vision, mission, purpose, and then also the code of conduct. And so when you join the Gitcoin Grants Garden, you agree to abide to Gitcoin's code of conduct and its vision, mission, and purpose. So within the garden, you can see all of the signaling pools that I just mentioned. The Allo Capital Builders Fund, that's the one funding pool. The matching funds is this pool. So you'll to be eligible for that, you need to create your own funding pool, as I mentioned. But this is where you register your funding pool, and you can also see all of the eligibility criteria and how to participate here. So maybe the best way to kind of help people, I'm guessing this is what people are most interested in, is how to be eligible for matching funding, and a lot of you might not have communities yet. So maybe first it would help to do some kind of show of hands to see like who has a community, who's looking for this part of matching funding. Howie, I see your hand raised also. You can just
I made a setup like here. I have another wallet that I'm not on the garden yet, and I sent some GTC there just to join and show people. Do you think would be valuable, or should we just keep that?
If it you mean to like go through that process from?
Yeah, I can. I don't think I have a funding pool yet to register, but I can show how to register in the community and participate in the pool.
Great. Yeah. How about we start with that then? And then I can show after that, like creating a community. So you want to take over the screen sharing and join the community?
Yeah. Can you see?
Yeah. Got it.
So, hey everyone. I'm gonna show you how to join the Gitcoin Grants Garden. I just need to find here the screen. Yeah, this one. So here, I'm gonna connect my wallet. No, I don't want this one. I want another one. So I'm gonna connect my wallet. Nice. And I have 2 GTCs in this wallet, so I need one to join. So I'm gonna click here and register. When I'm registering, doing the registry, I'm signing the covenant that Paul showed us. So I'm gonna sign, and then I'm gonna approve 1 GTC to be staked. This will be my voting power. Now we just need to wait, and one more signature to register, and done. We are registered in the community. Let me reload the page. Nice. Now I have one GTC as my voting power, and like I said, I have 2, so I can also. Oh, I clicked. I think I clicked something here, and my internet is.
You overwhelmed the system.
I broke.
This is probably a subgraph issue, I would guess.
I think I'm gonna disconnect. Reload the page.
Go back to.
Nice. It's here. Nice. Now, like I said, I have one more, so I can choose to increase my stake here. So I would just click here and approve on the wallet. I will not do that, so give us some time. But now I'm here I can join one of these, let's see this one, the signaling pool. So these ones, it's for region citizens that are building, they are leading regenerative contributions. So you can nominate friends, you can nominate someone who you know, and it is doing a great job. We have some great names here: Afo, Jimmy, Paul, Owaki. So you can just click here and create a proposal. I'm gonna put here Monty. I think Monty is missing. So I'm gonna just put here. I hope it is like that. I'm gonna check. Yeah, it is. So it was a good choice.
Oh, for the Twitter.
It is like that. So this is my proposal. I'm gonna wait here. Oh, I don't have balance.
No, you
But
need to
yeah,
activate your governance, I think, right?
no, it's because I don't have balance on the wallet, probably.
Oh, I see.
So
but
when you create a proposal, there's collateral, and yeah, so it's 0.002 ETH for this pool. So creating a proposal and disputing a proposal both have collateral, and if there's a dispute, then it goes through arbitration, and a ruling gets made on whether this proposal was a violation of the covenant or a violation of the terms of the governance pool, and the ruling will be made, and depending on whether it was blocked or approved, then if you create a proposal that's disputed and blocked, then you forfeit your collateral. And if you dispute a proposal and it winds up being approved, then you sacrifice your collateral also. So that's a protection measure for these proposals.
I think for this understanding about how to navigate, I think we already gave a good overview, right? I think you can keep going now. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, and to add to, so each pool can have, they all have their own parameters, and so your voting weight will be different in each pool based on whether that pool is using quadratic weighting or fixed voting weight, or 1 token equals 1 vote. So through the creation of governance pools, you can have the voting weight distributed however you want. So when you increase your Gitcoin stake, the effect that's going to have on your voting weight in each pool is going to be different based on that pool's voting weight system and which other people are governing that pool. You want to do that, Pope, Apo?
Interruption for some pull-ups. So yeah, we have a pull-up for this workshop, and have a 1 hour window that opened just like a few minutes ago. So in order to collect it, just go to the pull-up home app. So if you don't have it downloaded, you could download it on the App Store or the Google Play Store. And then when you open up the app, you go to Mint, you click Mint in the lower right corner, you choose secret word, and then enter the secret that's on the screen, which is Gardens -grow. And then you should be able to claim it. So I'm just testing that out right now. It looks like it's working. So yeah, let me know if anybody has issues claiming the POAP. But yeah, make sure you go claim the POAP. It's very yeah, for future retro and just kind of tracking impact and that kind of activity. It's kind of a something we're using to do that. So very highly recommend collecting the POAPs. All right, back to you, Paul.
Yeah, I just responded to Kaz's question about where do the collaterals go. So yeah, Slack collaterals are split between the losing party in arbitration, and then also a portion of it goes as a fee to the tribunal safe that ruled on it. And then there's also abstain.
I saw some questions on the chat. A lot of people don't know how to create a community. Maybe this could be something too.
Yeah, let's do that next. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and let's go through creating a community. So there's a handful of settings to set when you create a community. So we can let's call this community Always Public Library. So that's the community name. You can choose any governance token. So this is an ERC20 on any network. So let's just do GTC because I have that handy. So here's the GTC token address. And so you can choose any stake amount to create your
Just
community.
to add on this, like when I created my community, I used the token, our own token. Like there is no place to buy, so we used the token we were using on the community already. So you just need the contract and the network.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, the governance token is that's a very important question for the community. And I just shared a document. This will be very useful for anyone that still needs to create a community in Gardens. And one of the steps in the creating a community is the governance token. And if you don't have a governance token, you have a couple options. You can use an existing token that is either readily available or something that people in your community are holding or is easy to get for them. But the more powerful solution for governance token is to have a governance token for your community. And there's some resources in there for minting one using an Open Zeppelin contract or a Juicebox campaign. And so those are ways to have a token that is specific to your community. And the reason that's so much more powerful is because you are sourcing collective intelligence, and the distribution of governance weight between the people who are making those decisions it kind of defines how good you are at making decisions. Because if you are using a token that's freely available for the whole world and a lot of people are holding it, like a stable coin or ETH, then you're not able to correlate how much of that token people hold to their decision-making power within your community. And what winds up happening is you effectively need to use allow lists and fixed voting weight systems where everyone's voting weight is the same. And that works, but you don't have that kind of richer signaling of a token distribution that you're attempting to get into the hands of people that have created more value for your community specifically. So that's something to think about for your community.
Just for me to understand, Paul, sorry, if you can clarify. So is it better to have your own token that's not exchangeable, or is it better to have something like a GTC or even USDC?
I would recommend having your own token, and
Got it.
that's specific to your community.
Thanks.
But if that's too hard for you to set up, or you're doing an experiment, you can still do it with another token. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the community-specific token. Moving forward with these setup parameters, so you have the membership stake amount. This can be any amount. You can also choose to have a fee. So when people join the community, if you enable the fee, then some % of their initial membership stake will go to the community fee receiver address. And you can set this up as any address. So this is both a way to add a new revenue stream for your community, but then also to limit spam. If you think that there might be any issues with people joining your community, like bots or someone trying to take advantage of a funding pool in your community or something, then that fee can help as a spam reducer. So this can also be the council safe. And then I'll just fill this in with, that's our Gardens multi-sig. So the council safe is the admin of the community. And this is a safe address. And this address is permissioned to activate governance pools and to update parameters and settings within your community and within the governance pools. So this is that address that we're using the council safe election for in the Gitcoin Grant Garden. And so that's how you can choose which people in the Gitcoin Grant Garden are responsible for those admin privileges. And so, yeah, if you have a safe account already, that's perfect. You can plug that in. Otherwise, you can just create a new safe account at app.safe.global, and you can set that on any network and with any addresses as signers, and then you can just plug that in here also.
We recommend to start, just put one signature to make easier to set up everything, then you can change.
Right, yeah, we did that for the Gitcoin Grant Garden.
And then a quick question. Yeah, basically a question that emerged when I was opening the new community for FedDAO. Is from what I understand, then the wallet that is opening the community does not have admin rights to it then, right? Just the council safe address.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Can you say that again, Luis?
Yeah, sure. So basically asking whether the account that is opening the community has any admin rights, or if that would only be
It's only to the council safe. Yeah, anyone can create a community, and they don't even need to be in the council safe. But once you create that community, then that address that you set as the council safe will be the admin. So yeah, the addresses can also create governance pools within communities, which I'll show right after this. But yeah, you don't need to be the council safe to create a governance pool. The council safe is just activating the pools from there. That'll make sense in a minute. But to wrap this up, the last piece is the covenant. If your community doesn't have a covenant yet, then that's a really great moment for you to get together and talk about your mission, your values, your culture, what it is that you're doing, and what things that you hold to be the heart of your organization and the things that you want to enshrine in its direction forever. So if you haven't done that yet, then in that link that I sent, which the Notion doc on creating a community, there's some template tools for creating a covenant for your community. There's community rule, and then community canvas, and those are kind of just modular plug and play ways to draft that document together. So that's a useful resource for that. So yeah, that's all that you need to know for creating a community. You'll preview it after, you'll check all the settings here, and then once you submit, that will create your community, and then you'll see it on the main homepage here.
Just want to highlight because Kaz brought up a question about Solana support. Yeah, maybe you could speak to the chains that are supported, Paul, currently, and then any potential future ones.
Yep. So the current chains supported are Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, Gnosis Chain, and Polygon. And then as of just yesterday, we now support Celo. We haven't even announced that yet. So yeah, you're hearing it here first. That you can. So yeah, those are the 6 networks currently supported, and then future networks. We're always open to adding new Gardens networks. That there's, depending on the dependencies that are offered in that network, it can be easier or harder for some. Solana, I think, would be more challenging since that is another L1. So I don't think that would be soon on our roadmap unless the Solana ecosystem was really excited about Gardens and really wanted us deployed there. But yeah, if there are networks that we are not supporting that you guys would really like us to support, then let us know, and we'll put it on a roadmap. I see a couple other hands raised also. You want to go?
Yeah, hi. How are you? By the way, this is great. I'm very excited. Yeah, it's a twist. So one question is that I was reading through your Notion and I saw you had a bunch of polls, one of them being the best Web3, best OSS or best Web3 OSS, I'm not sure. Are you planning to open that pool as well, or the pools you presented at the start will be the pools of this round?
So all the pools that we have activated now those are the pools that will be active for this round. The best OSS in Ethereum, we wound up wrapping that into matching funding, and so yeah, if you want to propose the best OSS, then our hope is that you would create a Gardens community for that, create a funding pool for that OSS, and then get funding for that OSS through the funding pool.
Okay, clear. Great. Can I have another quick question?
Yeah, for sure.
So we're planning to apply to the Allo pool because we have a DApp that helps basically verify that projects are actually doing impact. It's called DVouch. So the community can vouch for projects that they deem like, regenerative and actually doing the work. I don't know if that would be too much of a stretch for Allo, but since it's talking about, capital allocation, do you think it could be a good fit for us to participate in that pool?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Are you in the Telegram chat by any chance yet?
I am.
Okay.
I saw you have a channel for Allo as well. I just wanted to check here with you first.
Yes. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind going in there, and there's a Calendly link in there that I sent to Tomo, I think it was, from Croatia. So you can use that link and set up a call, and we can talk about how to do the next steps for that.
Awesome. That would be lovely. Yes. And Tomo is a great friend, by the way. So
Oh, nice.
regions come together in the end. Yes. I'm also from Croatia. What are the odds?
No
Yeah.
way. That's great.
Okay, great. Let's catch up. Thank you very much. Have a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and I just shared the link in the chat for the Telegram.
Awesome. Thank you.
Owen, you also have a hand raise?
Maybe if it's too much of a detour, but I've been wondering about which chain to use. And I've just grown up with Cello in this space, so I'm quite glad that it's now part of Gardens as well. But I've seen Optimism in a lot of places and Gnosis. What is the general feeling around regen and which chains to use?
That's an amazing question. I kind of feel like Offo, do you have an opinion on that? I feel like you might have good,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think when it comes to regen chains, it definitely fluctuates, but I think the current status quo is definitely Optimism, given the public good funding, and then Cello. I think those are kind of the two change. And then, of course, if you want to be really neutral, mainnet, I think is the biggest neutralizer, and that's just region across the board. But it's a little bit more of a friction and like gas costs and getting your community onboarded. So I think a lot of it is kind of like where your community is most at ease and most comfortable. And I think that tends to be like Optimism or Cello, especially because Cello's now a L2, so it should be pretty smooth for people using it going forward. So yeah, that'd be my thoughts.
Just a question about Gardens. Is it possible to have one community on two chains, or does that just not make sense?
you can create separate communities on different networks. And then they would be separate communities. Joining one would not automatically have you in the other communities, but that's the best way to have a multi-network presence in Gardens right now.
Great, thanks.
Yes. So next we can start going through creating a funding pool. And we also have a separate notion for this that I will put in the chat there.
Yeah, I sent the thread on Twitter on Gardens account. There's a bunch of information there too. And the links they are also open there. You can just follow.
Paul and Corey, you guys could pin your messages, so in case people leave or join the call, they'll still be visible. So you know.
This big green button in your community is the button to create a pool. And when you create a pool, you can choose any purpose for your pool. And then this pool type right here, this determines whether it's funding or signaling. And so for the matching funds, those will be going into funding pools. So you would set a funding pool as your pool type, but you're able to create signaling pools and do things like council safe elections and ideation, to source ideas for what kinds of things the community should do. But kind of like take a step back here, the unlock that Gardens funding pools enable is community-owned funding. And this has kind of been the dream and the vision of crypto for forever. And it's one of the hardest things to do. And we've seen all of the challenges that community-owned money has, and every DAO that's had a governance system for requesting money, creating a proposal, asking for funds based on your deliverables and whatever it is that you're offering to the community, and then the system for approving that money. It's really hard to do this in a way where you are empowering people at the bottom of your community to get the resources that they need to do things that create value for your community, while still protecting the community from abuse and grant farmers and people who are good at writing proposals but not good at doing the things that they say in their proposals, and just kind of generally devolving into the political issues connected to free money, essentially. And so the really powerful part of Gardens is being able to shrink the scope of your funding to the smallest, most clear possible terms. And so this is the OneHive community here. And OneHive has a funding pool for expense reimbursements, and this is a way for people who have monthly subscriptions or expenses that they're making on behalf of the community to get compensated for that. And so this is a super simple but super narrow scope of funding where people can claim reimbursements by just posting receipts. And this has been running now for like maybe 6 months or so, and it's really helpful for OneHive for being able to support expenses like this. And you can see a lot of the expenses are like in the range of $70 to $150. You can see a lot of my expenses are in there. This is how I get paid for all of my subscriptions at OneHive. So you get a very limited amount of funding that people can request pretty easily. Within the proposal description, people are putting their receipts, and this is like very transparent and really easy for the people who are participating in this governance pool to see that this is someone that is known in the community. This is a tool that we need. Sentry is the bug reporting tool for OneHive. And you can see the expenses here, and this winds up being this really beautiful way to have this transparent entire funding history of all of the expenses that have been funded within this pool. And so there's only about $1,500 in this pool, but it's able to fund in perpetuity this specific type of funding that the community needs. And because it's really clearly defined and easy to tell whether a proposal fits within this scope, there have not been any issues with abuse in this specific pool. And the OneHive community is happy to keep adding funds to this pool. So that's one example of a well-designed funding pool. Let me put another one up here. So here's a funding pool with a slightly larger scope. This one has about $2,400. And this is for a pop-up city in Southern California called Mars College. And this is more open-ended. So they're a community, they're a real-world community. They do things like host dinner events, host lectures, and this is a funding pool where anyone in the community can say, hey, I have an idea for an event that we can do, or something that we can buy that I think will make life better for all of us. And they can create a proposal for that, request funding for it, and then people will be able to vote and approve that funding. So yeah, there's right now an active proposal for a dinner. Someone proposed getting smoke detectors for the community. They link to the smoke detector that they want to get, and the discussion that they've been having on getting this smoke detector. The governance so this threshold bar right here, that's the amount of conviction that the proposal needs to pass. The more funding you ask for, the more conviction the community needs to have in that proposal in order for it to pass. And we'll go through exactly how to fine tune those parameters in the pool setup in a bit. But basically the dark green bar needs to get past the finish line for that funding to pass. And once it does, then anyone can execute the proposal, and then that funding goes to the beneficiary. And that's all happening through the smart contracts. So here was a proposal for an espresso machine that got funded. And so this was executed to this address. And then here was all the people in the community that supported the proposal. So yeah, I'm showing these to kind of give examples of good funding pools that you might use for your own community. I can stop there and get questions if anyone has any to this point.
Yeah, just a quick question around the discussions. Does that happen in the community itself or in this proposal? Back and forth around, did you look at other coffee machines and just simple conversations between humans around understanding it better?
Right. Yeah. That last proposal that we were looking at linked to a Discord thread. There's in the Gardens app, there's not a discussion feature, not yet at least. And so yeah, you would want to link to Discord or Telegram or whatever channel people are having their conversation. Maybe Discourse also.
Great, thanks. Makes sense.
Yeah. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Paul, thanks for all this. So learning more about gardens here and kind of all the cool options that you've got, could we review what we would be creating to participate in the round? So like if we create our own garden, do we need to create it in a certain way to qualify for this program? I guess distinguishing just like general gardens usage from the program. So
Right.
kind of blurring for me right now. And then creating funding pools as well. So I heard an invitation to create like a garden community and then also to create pools. So
We're definitely giving the fire hose right now. But for the matching funding in the Gitcoin round, to be eligible, you're creating a funding pool and you're funding that pool with your own money or with members of your community's money. And the matching is for all funds added in between April 2nd and May 7th. And the matching funds will go directly into your funding pool. And so if this 2025 Money for Martians pool registered, then they would their funding that's already in here is not eligible for funding, but any additional funds they add during this round are then eligible for matching, and they would add it to their own funding pool, and then the matching funds would go into the funding pool beyond that.
okay, and so they're in their own garden,
Right.
but they could register their pool cross garden. Is that in the app or?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So would take the link from their funding pool and they would go into the Gitcoin garden, and I'll go to the one here, register for matching funding. So this is the pool where you create a proposal with a link to your funding pool. And then if it meets the eligibility criteria, then that pool will be eligible for matching funds.
Okay, and it looks like that page has a lot of the questions that I'm asking right now, so I could just go there to refer.
Yes. Yeah. This is pretty comprehensive. So I think you could just not even be on this call and be able to get everything you need to know about how to get funded just from this page. So yeah, I think something that will help to see on this call versus just in that pool is this process of going to create a funding pool, because you can see the different parameters and setup. So we can kind of walk through a funding pool setup. So maybe, yeah, you want to do community events so people can get funding here to throw an event in the community. So in the description, you'd want to put any kind of eligibility for that or what types of events you're hoping for people to fund. But then down here, you're going to choose the funding token. So this will be the token that gets paid out to people whose proposals pass and that you'll fund the pool with. This can be any ERC20 on the network that your garden is on. And then you can choose your voting weight system here. So these are the different options based on how many tokens each person has staked in the community. So quadratic is my favorite. Obviously made famous by Gitcoin. And so that would take the square root of your token staked, and that would be your voting weight within the funding pool. There's a couple methods of Sybil protection. You can set an allow list, and this would let you just input every address that would be eligible to vote in this pool. So if you have something like an NFT and you want to gate voting by the NFT, then this is the way to do that now, to get all the addresses of the NFT holders and bulk input them into an allow list. And those would be the people eligible to vote. You can also do Gitcoin Passport. If you use Gitcoin Passport, then people, I guess they don't call it Gitcoin Passport anymore. Now it's just passport.xyz. But then for people to be eligible to vote in that pool, they need to connect their Passport account. And here you can set the minimum score for that people need to have in order to be eligible. So I think most apps are using either 15 or 20. But if you need to be more secure, if you want it to be easier for people to join, then you can add any number here. But yeah, I think 15 to 20 is generally considered secure, but achievable for people at least familiar in Web3 to get to hit that score. Next, we have the arbitration settings. And so these parameters define what the disputability mechanism, how that works. And so you're setting a collateral to create a proposal. This is in the native token. You can have this be as cheap or as expensive as you want. The consideration for this is how likely is it that people are going to try to abuse your pool. And for instance, if you have $1 million in your pool and people are able to request $100,000 and pass it, then you want to have a pretty high collateral to dissuade people from maliciously creating proposals in that pool. If you have a really tiny pool with not that much money, and since our matching is all between $500 and $3,000, there's obviously not that level of security needed. You might put something more like $5 or $10. I think the highest one that we have is for the Allo pool, which is I think like $40 or $50, since that pool will have $13,000 in it. But those are considerations on choosing your collateral to create a proposal. And then similarly, disputing a proposal also has a collateral. So you can go through the same kind of risk analysis to decide how expensive it should be to dispute proposals. Yeah, disputing is more of a spam thing than an abuse thing. If it's really cheap to dispute proposals, then people might just go through and dispute a lot of proposals just to be annoying or just to see how the system works. So there's not that risk of people getting funds through disputes, but you still just want to think about what amount of money is going to dissuade people from using that the wrong way, but not dissuade people from disputing a bad proposal that they should dispute. And then there's the ruling time. This is the amount of time that the arbitration has to make a ruling. The tribunal, this is also any safe account. So you can add any safe address. It could be the council safe. It could be another safe that's connected to the community. One of the ideas that we have for the Regen All-Stars signaling pool is potentially having like a tribunal of regens in Web3 that could rule on disputes. This is just an idea. It's not something that we're going forward with yet, at least, but that's like the type of multi-sig that you might consider for a tribunal ruling. And then also this checkbox, this is global tribunal. If it's hard for you to find a tribunal safe, or if the council safe is not a good fit for that, then we offer this service. This is a Gardens multi-sig that will rule on disputes in your community as well. And then, yeah, I'll stop there because I imagine there might be questions so far. But yeah, so far we've gone through the name, the description, the funding token, the voting weight system, Sybil protection, and then the parameters. Yeah, I'll pause there if there's any questions. Otherwise, I can move on to the threshold settings, and that's the final piece.
Since most of you will be starting the community, makes sense to have a lower value on the collateral, but you also don't want everyone spamming proposals. So this is a way to balance, right? So just a thought that is important, so people will be able to do proposals in your community.
Right. And if this is overwhelming, I would recommend just looking at one of the existing funding pools that's already working and just adopting those parameters, because if it's already working for them, then it probably works for you too. So like I mentioned, these UX challenges are, it's security. This is money that anyone can request, and it's all operating through the smart contracts. It's all automated. And so we need to make sure that that's actually safe for the community.
Paul, you are able to update certain parameters after the pool is created, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the council safe can change these parameters in funding pools. If you're finding that a lot of people are spamming the pool, then you would come in here and up the collateral to create proposals, and that would help solve that.
Cool. Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat. In particular, I think we've had some.
Question: when you create this, does the wallet that created it always have permission to change settings?
Wallet that creates it does not have any permissions, and in fact, they can't even activate the pool. I can show you the section that it goes into. Once you create the pool from your EOA, then it goes into pools in review. Only the council safe can activate that pool to be one of the active signaling pools or funding pools in the community.
Okay,
And
so
this
the
is why
council
we
has
prefer to
admin.
use
Right.
posts for
Yeah.
this.
But that kind of simplifies it so that you can do this from an EOA. So you don't need multi-sigs just to get all this set up.
So if we're like, I want to play around, like maybe make a test one, I would just do that on live gardens. Would I have to set myself up as a council to change settings and things like that?
I just put in the chat a link to the dev environment in Vercel. And from there, you can create a community on Arbitrum Sepolia. So yeah, you can play around there with setting up communities on testnet. And in the testnet version, that the council safe, that you can put an EOA, any wallet address as the council safe, and it doesn't need to be a safe account. Oh, you got a 404?
The last half of the URL works. It just has an extra.
Okay, yeah, there's a fixed link. Thanks. Yeah, so you can do an Arbitrum Sepolia. It's pretty cheap to test in production on one of the mainnets. So I've seen people also set up test communities on the mainnet, and that's fine. So whatever is easiest for you. All right, so if there's no more questions, we can go into the final kind of fun parameter section, which is the threshold settings.
Yeah, the
So,
best part.
yeah, yeah, these are the fun ones to think about. So this is how much support does a proposal need to have to pass? And so off the bat, we have a recommended settings just for people that don't want to have to think about all this. And we have one Hive settings. There's also testing, which all that does is make the conviction growth really fast. So you can play around with adding support and seeing conviction grow. But to go through these one by one, the spending limit is the 100% of the funding pool that people can request in one proposal. The more money people ask for, the more community conviction that proposal needs to pass. And that goes all the way up to the spending limit. If someone requests the spending limit from that funding pool, then they will need 100% of the pool's conviction to pass, which effectively makes it impossible, because not only does all of the voting weight need to only support that proposal, but it also needs to grow in conviction. And that's the time element that makes Gardens. So if you're not familiar with conviction voting, Michael Zargum from Block Science theorized conviction voting in 2019 as a way of emulating biological and electrical systems in governance, where you have time-weighted protections. And by just like how in electric systems and biological systems, if things take a long time to be executed, and for an electrical system, this would be surges in power, decreases in power, and taking the sustained value of that current and using that to affect your electric device. That same principle can apply to governance, where when people are voting on things in a governance system, there's all kinds of reasons that you might see spikes in support or sudden huge drops in support. And in most situations, you want to ignore that. And the types of things that this might be happening in, it would be like a last minute vote swing. So if you have a vote and it ends, what a lot of people will do is hold their vote until the last minute, and then right before the deadline of the vote, put all of their support into whatever they're supporting. And the final decision winds up being something that shocks the community, because no one knew that was how people actually felt, because people were hiding their opinions until the last minute. And so conviction prevents these issues by adding a time component to votes. And so when you support a proposal in Gardens, your support needs to grow conviction, and conviction grows over time to meet support. And these are the parameters where you get to determine exactly how that works. And so the conviction growth parameter here, this is how long it takes for that conviction to grow. So you can set a really long conviction and have proposals and need to have support for months and months in order for that proposal to be executable. Or you can set shorter conviction growths. And so in our Gitcoin Grants Garden, because the scope of our decision making is 1 month, we have a 3-day conviction growth. And so that means that conviction growth is it's given as the half-life of your support. And so with a 3-day conviction growth parameter, that means that 50% of your support will have grown conviction within 3 days. And then, so within another 3 days, you'll have another 25%. And this is a logarithmic curve that eventually has your conviction meet support. It's somewhat easier to visualize if you're just looking at the UI and seeing the bars for support and conviction. But the idea here is that the longer this is, the longer people will need to support proposals for them to be able to pass. So we have spending limit, we have the rate of conviction growth. There's also minimum conviction, and as I mentioned, the more money that you ask for, the more community support that it needs to pass. So minimum conviction would be the amount of support if someone's requesting $0. What's the least amount of community conviction that the smallest funding proposals will need to pass? And so that, for instance, if this protects against if someone's going to ask for just $1 and be able to pass it with a really small amount of support, then you might be encouraging accidentally people to be creating tons of small proposals. So that minimum conviction makes it so that you at least need some amount of the community's support for even really small proposals to pass. And we usually recommend somewhere between 10 or 20% for that. And then, so between those, you'll get the threshold, which will be the percent of that pool's voting weight that needs to grow in conviction for the proposal to pass. And that was the finish line in the graphic. The last parameter here, this is one final safety feature. So if you don't have very many people in your pool, the minimum threshold points determines the least number of people that need to support a proposal for it to pass. And so if only one person activated their governance in a pool, then you don't want to have, obviously, a pool where one person can pass every proposal on their own. So this lets you pick an amount of voting weight in points that a proposal needs to pass. So you might set this so that, for instance, 3 people need to support a proposal for it to pass, and that would override the threshold for pools that don't have a lot of people with governance activated in it. And then I'll go back to one of the funding pools just so you can see this in action again. And then it should make more sense now to see. So this pool has a 37% spending limit, 10% minimum conviction, and a 3-day conviction growth. And so there's $2,400 in the pool, and you can see that these proposals are requesting $500, $500, and $400. And based on the amount that's being requested, you can see the threshold here. When you hover over, it'll show you the percent of the community's support that needs to grow in conviction on that proposal for it to pass. And then you can also see the support and the conviction. So support is the light green bar, conviction grows in the dark green bar over time to meet support. And once the dark green bar passes the threshold, then that proposal can be executed and the money gets paid out.
Does it require either a safe or, sorry, a multisig or some account to trigger the execution of the contract, or does it happen automatically?
Anyone can execute a proposal, so you don't need a safe for anything. You don't even need to be a member of the community. Yeah, once it meets the conditions to be executed, then a green execute button will pop up and anyone will be able to click it.
Got it. Thanks.
So the parameters are usually where people's brains start bubbling and their eyes roll back. And I know this is, there's a lot to think about. This is the hard part of conviction voting and bottom-up governance. It's really helpful to understand all of these so that you can create a good funding pool. But the goal is, at the end of the day, that the people in the community who are creating proposals don't need to think about all of this. They just have an idea for the community and they need a certain amount of money for that. And so they create a proposal, they ask for that amount of money, and if they get enough support from the community, then it passes. So luckily all of these parameters are abstracted away from those community users, but it is very helpful as a community builder to understand those mechanisms. And if you're not sure about any of these, then you can ask in the Telegram, you can ask me, you can go into our Gardens Discord, and then you can also just take one of the templates from an existing funding pool and try that out for your community and see if that works. And then if you're finding that proposals are too easy to pass or they're taking too long to grow conviction, then the Council Safe can make those updates to the parameters and make that work more smoothly.
Just want to give a time reminder. We got 30 minutes left on the call. Yeah, so I think we got a couple more things to get to, but yeah, I think we're pretty good on time.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's it for the funding pool. So yeah, once you have the funding pool created, then you can register in the Gitcoin Grant Garden, and then you can start adding funds to your pool to start getting matching funds from the round.
Yay!
Yay! Just bringing again, it's I think it's a good move to use instead of using a safe with more than one signature, just having one. I think this will make things, especially for creating the pools and editing the parameters. So keep just one signature until you have your funding pool. Then you can change the mute sig and will work pretty well.
Yeah. All right, Paul, are you anything else you want to screen share? I could bring it back to slides.
There's no other questions, then let's go to the next slide. I'll turn off my screen.
That should bring me back up. I'm back. So just a reminder, because I know we had few people join the call since. We have a POAP. It still should be available. If you just go in the POAP Home app and then enter the secret. There was a question around it not working for somebody who had like a modified Android. I am trying to get some Mint links approved by the POAP team, so then I could send those to you. But in the meantime, you can still claim via the app. So the secret is Gardens-grow, and make sure to claim the POAP. All right, next slide. Yeah, this is just some round funding details. Maybe Corey, you want to go over this?
Yeah, I think we already talked about.
Yeah.
Basically, we will have 13K that will be split proportionally on the all eligible communities, and we have some more funding that from this deploying that Gardens did on Celo. So Celo did a matching here. They added 3K more for projects that are deploying their communities on Celo. And we also have 1.5K for pop-up cities and intentional communities. The round, it's running since from March 21 and goes until May 7. So from April 2 to May 7, all the funds you added on your funding pool, they will be considered to the matching. I think this is, we already talked about, but it's good to remind.
I think this is just a good reminder just so you can just kind of see it fully how much funds are available in the round and the timeline. And yeah, we'll talk more about the Allo Builders Fund in another workshop, which I'll just highlight in the next steps. So yeah, just to close this next steps, and we could hop into some technical support if people want to set up their communities for the rest of the call, things like that. But some things to do after this workshop is to, one, join the Gitcoin Grants Garden, right? If you want to participate in, showing conviction on the signaling pools, register for matching, you need to join the community. So you'll just need to have one GTC to do that, and then you'll be able to participate. And then, make sure to activate your governance in the pools you want to help govern. So if you want to, show conviction on the regen communities or the OSS, make sure that you activate governance. And then, if you're looking at matching funds, make sure you create your funding pool and make sure it's, meets the requirements, make sure you get the funding in a minimum 500. And just to clarify that on that, Paul, when you create a pool, there's an address created. Is that the case? And you could just send funds to that address?
Yeah, there's an address for the page of the pool, and then to add funds, there's a module on the page for adding the funds, and that will have you approve and then send the tokens to the pool.
Could you do that outside the app, technically?
Yes, probably. I haven't done that yet, so I don't want to say that. But yeah, I don't see any reason you shouldn't be able to.
So it shouldn't be too hard to fund your pool. Just have the address. And is it only community members that could fund a pool, or anybody?
Anyone can fund a funding pool. There
you go. So they'll need to be part of your community, and you have the ability. So yeah, not too much friction in getting your pool funded. And then the goal is to fundraise. This is different than a typical Gitcoin round where like it's donation based. This is more about like fundraising to like your pool. But it's still similar concept. So definitely do the outreach, reach out to your community members and look to get their support. And then lastly, we're going to be doing another workshop next week that's going to be fully focused on the Allo Builders pool. So if you want to build on Allo and want to help build integration that could be integrated on Gardens, that's the workshop to join. And we'll discuss further details next week. I think that's going to be set for next Thursday. I'll be sending out the invite later today. And yeah, so yeah, that's what we got for next steps. I think this is the last slide, so we could just go into like questions and technical support for the last 20 minutes.
And one other thing I'll add is that because our round is going a few weeks after the Gitcoin round, that's a really nice way to fund your funding pool in Gardens, is to use your donations and matching from the Gitcoin round and then add that to the funding pool that you've set up on Gardens. So you're like double, triple multiplying your money at that point, because we want to encourage that type of money. That's a great use of Gitcoin funds.
There's people in the chat saying stuff. Okay, secret phrase. I think that's
Thanks for a
matching.
great session. Good drop now, but it was brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for doing. And then I see Matt asked about, can a pool hold any token? Yes, any ERC20 on your community's network can be a funding pool token. So you can use any token. And then yeah, the matching funds will come in that token. So admin will take care of the bridging and the swapping, and you'll just get the token as whatever your funding pool token is on its network. They'll go right into the pool.
And if you know, like I said, we have some time. So if anybody wants support in setting up their community right now, or has other questions, this is the time we can support you.
This is awesome. Thanks a lot.
Well, it seems we did a pretty good job. I think everybody here's got it down, hopefully.
Yeah, I think just to clarify, this would be like screen sharing. If someone wants to create the community with us helping, giving support, you can do now. So just let us know. We still have like 15 minutes.
And then I see Paul shared his calendar link. So also too, if you want like a dedicated session, could schedule one with Paul. But I think, you know, we'll see if anybody, but you know, I think yeah, Paul did a great job walking through everything. Corey with the example. So I think I feel like people will get space.
I'd take you up on it for grant ships, but I want to go read the thing and think about how we want to set it up, and maybe circle back once we have some decisions made.
That makes sense. I think, yeah, it is a lot to kind of to think about and make sure, because I believe the covenants right now, when you create your community, you can't edit. So it's kind of, once you just define your community, it's kind of set. I think that might change in the future, Paul, if I'm not mistaken. But currently, you can't edit.
It's etched in stone. Make sure you know what you're saying.
Yeah. I think when we do have an update process for that, there will be some governance involved, because yeah, it's kind of the constitution of the community. So you don't necessarily want the council safe to just willy-nilly make changes to the constitution. Maybe it'll be like a Bill of Rights. That'll be how you edit the.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll have something at some point.
But could you please repeat which pool is to stake 1 GTC?
The 1 GTC is to join the Gitcoin Grants Garden, and that gives you access to participate in all of the pools, including creating a proposal to get matching funding, and then also to signal on the pain points of Ethereum and regen all-stars and all those pools. So to participate in any of that, you stake 1 GTC and sign the covenant in the Gitcoin Grants Garden, and then you'll get access to those.
The staking, it happens when you register, like at the same time. There is a series of 3 transactions where you sign the covenant, you approve the staking, and you register.
Nice. Thanks for putting this together, Afo.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, this went really well. I think, yeah, we killed it. So great job, everyone. Good job, Corey, Paul. Yeah, I think we could probably close this out. Oh, Felipe, go for it. Or maybe you just wanted to do emoji. Okay, good. But yeah, thank you guys. I'll stop sharing my screen. Really appreciate everybody for taking the time these past 2 hours to join us for this workshop. Hopefully, yeah, it was very insightful and learned a few things. Yeah, if any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out on the Garden Telegram, which I think Paul, you shared a link to earlier, but maybe you could share it one more time for people to join for support. Yeah, and just appreciate everybody for taking the time. Have a good rest of your day. Well, I'll let Paul share the link first, and then we'll close the call.
I'm putting it in. Yes.
Thank
add.
you.
All right.
See you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, wait.
Okay, everyone.
I'm trying to join, and I got the GTC, but it's asking to sign the covenants. And so, where is the covenants?
That transaction is happening on IPFS. So the covenant is in IPFS, but you can see the text on the page that you're joining. So if you scroll down, Gitcoin Covenant is the bottom half of the page that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a signature, like if you were signing the document with your wallet. So it will be just a signature in the wallet.
Yes. So when I register in the community, you should sign.
You will be the first transaction.
It says failed. Oh, but it gives a link to the covenants. No, covenants.
Can you share your screen, Diogo?
Yes.
I think more people
I
can
think
have.
I need to enable screen sharing, so
Oh, okay.
you should be able to share now.
Here it's fine. See it?
You can scroll up.
Oh, it's just taking a while. There you go.
It's always once you show it that it works.
Thank you, guys.
Nice.
That's what we're here for. I'll just turn my camera on just because I think you had yours on. I think, Paul. There we go. Maybe we could do a little screenshot. Everybody want to, turn the cameras on? We'll do a little image to close this call. Always wanted to do that.
Nice.
There we go. I see Cornelia. We got Diogo. All right, let's get this. Okay, couple more seconds. Okay, I think we got just about everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and capture it. Let's every smile. Oh, I did believe. All right, cool. We got the photo. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Awesome. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.